from pole position. Yesterday, it was all about Francesco Azzori and the SR&R Ferrari 488 GT3, but that car not taking part in this race as Azzori's teammate for the weekend, Aramis, has pulled out of the running. And so we will have a slightly reduced field, but it will be the Renault RS01 from Racetivity starting on pole position. Emmanuel Collard and Charles-Henri Samani sharing the car. It was Samani in the car for race number 1 and was running second, and indeed crossed the line second, but ended up taking a penalty for unsafe behavior, which we believe was contact with the Herrero Racing Audi R8 of Pierre Arroux. And that dropped him down the order, but a chance for redemption for the Racetivity team today. Claire Cottingham is downstairs on the grid, and it looks like she's got news for us.
Pole position, of course. Let's speak to Emmanuel. I'm going to have to come under the car. I'm so sorry. I don't want to touch anything. How are we feeling? Is Mugello somewhere we like?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Do we like Mugello? Is it a track that you enjoy?
Yeah, really. It's a really nice track.
How are we feeling about pole position then? Obviously, you didn't race yesterday. Are there any sort of nerves feeling? Where's the pressure coming from?
Yeah, I think it's quality was really good, but for the race, I have a pit stop to do. So at the end, it will be not so easy because we get at least 25-30 minutes penalty. But we will see.
You've also got quite a lot of pressure, obviously, from behind. Lots of fast cars just behind you.
To be honest, not really. But with my penalty, maybe it will be more exciting.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. Are you feeling good, though?
Sorry?
Are you feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Very.
That's the main thing, Emmanuel. We're like, I don't want to hit my head. Right, Chris, I'm going to head back to you because I just nearly hit my head on the car because I feel like racing is about to happen in 3 minutes' time.
Exactly 3 minutes time, because the 3-minute board has just been shown. So just to provide a little bit of context for what Emmanuel Collard was saying there, is that because he is a silver graded driver, they do have to take penalties in the race because this championship is more aimed at the gentlemen drivers. So it will be a stop-go penalty or a 47-second post-race time penalty, but probably the stop-go is actually a smaller time loss. We've seen the Van der Westen brothers have to take that penalty in every single race, and Emmanuel Collard will have to do the same in this one. So the challenge for him really is going to be trying to extend enough of an advantage to pull away and build up enough of a gap to negate that penalty effectively. As we mentioned, he's sharing the car with Charles-Henri Samani, and they are using the Renault RS01 car in its sort of GT3 specification to prepare for a potential ELMS outing later in the month. And they like having the Renault as its test car, I think, because they can have the passenger seat on the right-hand side, and so Emmanuel can give Charles-Henri the advice live inside the car as well. And it's a car that's been in Samani's possession for 8 years now. Not many people might be familiar with the RS01, of course, originally designed to create a one-make series, the Renault Sport Trophy, but was later homologated to GT3 specification, largely seen out in the Creventic series and occasionally at the Nürburgring 24 hours in the SBX category. So it's a slightly detuned engine and a bit of additional weight, 70 kilos of ballast on board that car, and steel brakes rather than carbon brakes for it to be in its GT3 specification. Emmanuel Collard is sharing the front row of the grid with Olivier Morahan, who was on the podium yesterday aboard the JRM Racing Chevrolet Corvette C7. And then the UCS3 battle is happening right behind him for the Ferrari Challenge cars between the two SR and R teammates of Lorenzo Monteiro and Harrison Walker. Now, Lorenzo Monteiro's teammate Lyle Schofield took victory in that class yesterday. And the two teammates ended up being split by the Racing Spirit of Le Mans car, Frederic Lacour. But he lines up at the back of the grid because a broken wheel rim in qualifying 2 prevented him from setting a lap time. And so the Frenchman is going to have to go from 14th as the formation lap is underway for race 2. And Emmanuel Collard leads them on the formation lap. He will lead Olivier Morahan on the front row of the grid with the two SR&R teammates, Lorenzo Montiero and Harrison Walker, a pair of Ferrari 488 Challenge cars there. And then the Porsche Cup battle happening right behind them. Yesterday's race winner, Eric de Baard, ahead of Cesar van der Westen in the 2B Autosport Porsche. Then comes Patrick Michelier in the CMR run Ferrari 488 Challenge. Julien Bourguignon in number 13. Then comes Lionel Rigaud in the GP Racing car, and then Jeremy Avalaneda. That car didn't make it farther than the first corner yesterday, hoping for a bit of better luck. Yesterday's UCS 4 race winner was Andrei Zafiritos. He starts from 11th ahead of Pierre Aru, who didn't finish yesterday's race after contact with Charles-Henri Samani in the closing stages of the race. And Alfredo Hernandez once again goes from the back of the grid after failing to set a time in either of the qualifying sessions, having crashed early on in Q1 yesterday afternoon. And then, of course, Frederic Lacour going from the back of the grid. There he is, that racing spirit of Le Mans. Ferrari 488 Challenge was second of the UCS 3 runners yesterday, but has his work cut out for him from the back row of the grid. We saw Hernandez didn't finish yesterday, having made good initial early progress. The sole remaining UCS 2 car in the field. And last time we went racing with Trofeo GTS in Portimao, ended up taking an overall race win. Also with Francesco Azzori, who's rather been the foreman in Trofeo GTS and Ultimate GT Sprint Cup so far this year, having won all 5 of the races that he's taken part in so far this year. Not racing in this one, but it does open up the door for some potential other competitors to win. You see a wonderful mix of GT machinery, the GT3 specification cars, the Super Trofeo here, the Ferrari Challenge machinery, the Porsche Cup machinery, a pair of GT4 cars as well. This category also open up to what is called UCS Light cars, which is for the likes of the Alpine A110 cars, which we'll see in Trofeo GTE tomorrow as well. We've seen midgets, we've seen Ligier JS2Rs as well. The Ginetta GT Academy car as well is also eligible for that category, but the focus remains on the Porsche Cup category, the GT4 cars, the Ferrari Challenges, the Super Trofeos, and the GT3 cars. Of course, car waiting patiently for the cars to return to the grid. Emmanuel Collard's definitely taking his time getting them around to the starting grid, and it looks like the pace car is going to pick them up just on the exit of Pelagio. Car 83, that is the Racetivity pole sitter, Emmanuel Collard's team. They've been asked to report to race control, so not sure what could have happened this early on to have invoked the attention of the stewards. Potentially some starting grid infringement, a pre-grid infringement potentially there for the Racetivity team, but we'll keep an eye out on that. There you can see a couple of the older specification 991 Porsche Cup cars. So that is Jeremy Avalaneda's car, but also Julien Bourguignon's as well. He's sharing the car with Hugh van der Westen, the father of the van der Westen brothers, Carl and Cesar, who share the number 14 car. They are racing in the number 13, but Hugh will also be aboard the number 14 for Trofeo GTE tomorrow, which is the 4-hour endurance race. As we start to get the 2x2 formation to get the second 25-minute race of the weekend for Trofeo GTS underway. And it will be Emmanuel Collard in the Racetivity RS, Renault RS R1 on the left-hand side, as we will look at it alongside the Chevrolet Corvette. So it will be the American V8 Grunt against the Japanese and French co-built 3.8-litre twin-turbo V6 in the Renault. We wait for the red lights to go out and signal the start of the second race of the weekend for Trofeo GTS. They do so now. And it looks like Olivier Morahan has got the initial jump on the Renault with the grunt of the Chevrolet. In fact, he does lead, does the Frenchman, going into the first corner. So Emmanuel Collard, the pole sitter, being reduced to second position as the SR&R Ferrari Challenge teammates battle into San Donato for the first time of asking. There we see Olivier Morahan a little wide there into Luco for the first time. And it looks to be Lorenzo Monteiro who's hung on to third position, but now side by side for the lead of the race. Emmanuel Collard wasting no time trying to reclaim the lead of this race. And that super stiff carbon fiber Dallara chassis proving to be much stronger than the Chevrolet when they start to get into the twistier section of the racetrack. So it is now Emmanuel Collard back into the lead of the race. Olivier Morahan down to second. And the two SR&R Ferrari Challenge cars. Eric de Baard has hung on to the lead of the Porsche Cup category ahead of Cesar van der Westen. There we saw Frederic Lacour there in the number 91 car, who's already made up several positions on this first lap, and in fact is tucked right up behind the CMR run Ferrari of Patrick Michelier, who started up in 7th position and already cleared the Michelier car going into Corinteo for the first time, and now finds himself on the back of Cesar van der Westen. So this has been a cracking first lap for Frederic Lacour in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans car. I think he'll end up in 6th or maybe 7th position. We'll get confirmation when they come over the timing line. The leaders already making their way up towards San Donato once again for the second time of asking. So Emmanuel Collard's advantage 3.8 seconds over Olivier Morahan at the end of the first lap. Then comes Lorenzo Monteiro hanging to the lead of UCS 3 ahead of Harrison Walker. Eric de Baard in 5th, Frederic Lacour up to 6th. So that's astonishing stuff from him because he's already cleared Cesar van der Westen. Must have done that in the last corner. And now Cesar is under pressure from his 2B Autosport teammate in the Julien Bourguignon previous generation car that has proven to be a very rapid car in a straight line down that start and finish straight. It might be lacking 25 horsepower compared to its successor, but it does have a great little aerodynamic platform that makes it very agile in a straight line, and therefore actually quicker than the 992 by the time they get to the braking point for San Donato. Though I would expect the 992 to start pulling away a little bit in this section of the racetrack, for example. There's Alfredo Hernandez as well, who's gotten up into 10th position from the back of the grid. Listen to that V10 sing going through Arrabbiata. Lamborghini and Ferrari machinery and the Italian hills in Tuscany. So there is Cesar van der Westen, second of the Porsche Cup runners, and Alfredo Hernandez fancies a run on Patrick Michelier here. So this would be for 8th position, I believe, because, or no, for 9th, as Julien Bourguignon has gotten ahead of Patrick Michelier since the start of the lap. So through Buccini, a long, long left-hander. Let's see who's got the performance in a straight line. Probably the slowest car in a straight line is actually Cesar van der Westen's, because we talked about earlier, the 991, a bit quicker in a straight line. The Ferrari Challenge has got some 150 horsepower more than either of those two Porsches, and the Super Trofeo is probably faster than all of them. But there you see what I mean about the 991. It just hoovers up to the back of its successor because it's so much narrower, it's much smaller, a lot less drag on that car, even though it's lacking 25 horsepower compared to the slightly larger 6-cylinder engine. It's a 3.8 litre in the 991 versus a 4 litre in the 992. Flat 6, of course, in both of them, as is traditional for Porsche 911s. great string of cars. And Lionel Rigaud has also caught onto the back of it as well, as he's fourth of the Porsche Cup runners. And wow, that's Emmanuel Collard coming up to lap everyone. Oh no, excuse me, that was for position. He came in for his stop, of course. He did it basically at the end of lap 2. I thought that was a bit early to be lapping everyone, but no, that's for position, excuse me. So Emmanuel Collard has served his drive-through as the penalty, the success penalty, if you like, for silver-graded drivers. And now looking to round up Van der Westen here. So down the inside into Buccini. And so Olivier Morahan now leads ahead of Lorenzo Montiero. It should be 6th position that Collard emerges in. Of course, he's got just under 19 minutes to try and do something about the cars ahead of him. And yes, across the line in 6th position. So Montiero 2nd, Harrison Walker 3rd, Eric Debard in 4th, Frédéric Lacour 5th, and then Emmanuel Collard in 6th. Of course, remember Cesar Van der Westen, the car he just overtook into Buccini, also will have to take a silver class penalty, but traditionally they have opted for the post-race penalty, which has bitten them a little bit. It bit his brother Carl yesterday because we ended under safety car conditions, and so that dropped Carl from the lead of Porsche Cup right down the overall order. And now we can see why the Racetivity team was called to the stewards, as Emmanuel Collard gets a little crowded there by Frédéric Lacour. But that car, the number 83 Renault, is under investigation for a formation lap procedure and now makes contact with Frédéric Lacour. Now, Charles-Henri Samani took a penalty for making contact with the GT4 car yesterday, and I wonder if Emmanuel Collard might end up picking up a penalty, or at least being looked at for a slight panel work shave with Frédéric Lacour. Now this is a slow-moving Jeremy Avellaneda. See a little bit of debris that's been left on the road. Now, what has happened to the 122 car here? Has it got a puncture there? Right rear might be looking a little low. That car didn't make it past San Donato for the first time of asking yesterday. So it has at least managed to get 7 or 8 minutes of running in this one so far. So we can see what happened with Emmanuel Collard. Up the inside into Arrabbiata 2. Well, of course, the Renault was running significantly faster. And in fact, is the fastest car on track at the moment, 1:53.4 being its best lap. That might even be a pit lap, actually, because we've only done 4 laps so far. Here is our race leader, though, Olivier Morahan. Who has been on the overall podium. He was on the overall podium last time we had Trofeo GTS out with us in Portimao. Yet to take an overall win, though, between this and the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup. That Turn 9 incident has been noted between Frédéric Lacour and Emmanuel Collard. And this is the 122 Jeremy Avellaneda car coming into pit lane very slowly. And yes, it does look like a right rear puncture on that 991 specification Porsche. So I wonder how that's happened, whether the Goodyear has let go of its own accord, or whether there was some contact or a trip through the gravel, potentially. And, well, to make matters worse for Avellaneda, he's now been given a 2-minute time penalty for using the shortcut at Turn 7 at Cervelli. They have been very strict about that so far this weekend. Right, Claire Cottingham in pit lane tells me that the pole-sitter car, Emmanuel Collard, he left very early before the flag was shown on the formation lap following the course car. So maybe that is why the stewards are taking a look at the formation lap and starting procedure for Emmanuel Collard, but we will wait to hear news from the stewards room as Collard has rounded up Harrison Walker and now made his way into 3rd position overall. There he is. And just making his way into Materazzi and Borgo San Lorenzo, which is one of the many quaint villages around this part of Italy. I must say, it is a joy to see this car out on track because it is a rare sight these days, obviously for Charles-Henri Simani and Emmanuel Collard, more of a training car, but nonetheless, always great to see some rare cars out there. If you were to put it in its raw performance form, so it would be somewhere between a GT3 car and an old Class 1 DTM car. And that car has been victorious. It was here that it took its first major win in the 24-hour series with V8 Racing, but now Emmanuel Collard looking to take 2nd position away from Lorenzo Montiero into Buccini, and does so with ease. And so he has some 5 seconds or so between himself and Olivier Morahan. And there he is. Now that looked like Collard coming back into pit lane there because it has been given a drive-through penalty for a formation lap infringement. So Claire was telling us that maybe it left the grid a little too eagerly, and that is why we are now seeing the Renault RS01 coming back through pit lane for a 2nd time in this race. All the hard work that Emmanuel Collard has done so far is rather being undone. Of course, great news for Olivier Morahan, who now leads once again. And this would be a first outright victory of the season for Olivier Morahan between the Trofeo GTS and Ultimate GT Sprint Cup. He has taken a class win. Last time we had Trofeo GTS out in Portimao in race 1, but for outright victory, this would be a first of the season. Right, so, Frederic Lacour is going to be watching his mirrors again here because Emmanuel Collard is coming up to the racing spirit of Le Mans Ferrari in exactly the same point on the racetrack. This time Collard waits until the exit of Arrabbiata 2 and into Scarperia to get the move done. And so that should be 5th position now for Emmanuel Collard, with Harrison Walker once again in front of him. And he clears that car very quickly indeed, but that has put Frederic Lacour right on the back of it. Once again, we're seeing another cracking recovery drive from Frederic Lacour because remember, he started at the back of the grid. That broken wheel rim in Q2 prevented him from setting a lap time, and now he's looking at the back of 2nd position in his class against Harrison Walker, who we saw out in Ultimate GT Sprint Cup for the first time in Hockenheim a couple of months ago. The Australian who's come an awful long way, formerly racing in the BMW E30 Cup, coming up against Lacour, who moved over from midget racing with the Racing Spirit of Le Mans team in the last couple of years. He was sharing the car with Kevin Parser in Hockenheim, and he ended up with an overall win, but it's the class battle. He denied the SR&R team a 1-2 on home soil yesterday. Lorenzo Montiero in the 353 car remains rather unchallenged. The former Caterham racer. Oh, that's a wide moment there for Harrison Walker going through Arrabbiata 1, and now Frederic Lacour is just waiting for his opportunity to once again deny a 1-2 finish for the SR&R team. So coming down into Scarperia, or into Correnteo, I should say. Nose to tail stuff between these two Ferrari 488 Challenge cars. Some 650-ish brake horsepower underneath their right foot. The incident between Frédéric Lacour and Emmanuel Collard is going to be investigated after the race. So that was involving the Renault and the car that is second in this queue. We're looking at the blue, red and yellow Ferrari. Chasing the black and white SR&R car. 9 minutes left on the clock. SR&R normally running a lot more white and maybe a splash of red on their challenge cars. But we've seen a very different scheme for them. Here is Lacour with a big dive into San Donato for second position in the UCS3 category. And that was a lovely move there by the Frenchman. So he once again splits the two teammates. He does have some 25 seconds or so between himself and class leader Lorenzo Montiero. So I think it's unlikely in the remaining 8 minutes that he will catch the class leader. But nonetheless, from the back of the grid up into what is now 4th position overall. Let me get to see it again. Super late on the brakes there, and Harrison Walker did rather well to not just take the normal racing line and end up slamming into the side of the chasing Ferrari. See, just behind them, Eric Debard continues to lead in the Porsche Cup category. Man doing Porsche Carrera Cup France this year. Now the two TB Autosport cars battling for 2nd and 3rd. And Julien Bourguignon on this lap has just been able to pass Cesar van der Westen. So the number 13 passing the sister number 14 car. And we can hear Alfredo Hernandez from a mile away in that V10 Lamborghini Super Trofeo car, still just ahead of Patrick Michelier, but not quite carving through the field quite as quick as I would have expected. In 9th position, rather stalled out. So there's Julien Bourguignon leading Cesar van der Westen over the line. So now we see Hernandez on the back of the 2B Autosport car. 2B Autosport, known as a French rally team, but Porsche specialists. Last team to have won the French Rally Championship with Porsche machinery, and they've been in the Ultimate Cup for a couple of years now, getting a bit of circuit experience, going up against, just behind them, the BDR competition team, which is very adept at Lamborghini Super Trofeo competition. Of course, we saw Amory Bonduelle out in the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup in Hockenheim in preparation for his GT3 race debut, or giving him his GT3 race debut, I should say, in preparation for a spot with a Lamborghini team. Just under 6 minutes left on the clock. And this is everything that's great about GT racing. The flat sixes in the Porsches, the V10s in the Super Trofeo, the V8 in the Ferrari Challenge car. 3 completely different type of one-make machinery from Porsche, Lamborghini and Ferrari, all very closely matched here. Oh, that was Cesar van der Westen, almost wanted to take the long lap penalty by the looks of it. Oh, that Lamborghini does make a good noise, doesn't it? Quite a loud one too. So let's see if he can get a bit of a tow. Takes that tighter line through Buccini. And maybe Hernandez knows he can afford to sacrifice a bit of exit because he's got quite a bit more grunt in his V10 compared to the Porsche in front of him. And so he can take that narrower line, utilize a bit more of the corner speed, use the Porsche's strength against it, and before they even get into San Donato, the Mexican has managed to clear Cesar van der Westen and finds himself in 8th position. He has been competing in Super Trofeo Europe of late, has Hernandez. Overall race winner in Trofeo GTS earlier this year. The Belgian team that was Super Trofeo champions, vice champions I should say, sorry, a couple of years ago. That's the Racing Spirit of Le Mans team just watching on from the pit wall. Seeing their man in 2nd position. Of course, the team that's going to be very busy in the European Endurance Prototype Cup comes Sunday, with several machines on offer between the Ligier GSP3s and the Nova prototypes, the MPO2s. As indeed will the CMR team as well, running various Ginetta machinery throughout this and the European Endurance Prototype Cup. But this is for the lead of the race. Emmanuel Collard, with 3.5 minutes left on the clock, despite 2 drive-through penalties, one for a start infringement, the other for his silver class penalty, has been able to catch up to Olivier Morahan. They were side by side going into Materazzi. Collard on the outside line, not quite able to do anything, but with the extra momentum and down the hill into Casanova, and Emmanuel Collard is back into the lead of the race. It's taken him almost the entire length of this race to try and get back on terms with Morahan there, but Emmanuel Collard, the multiple Le Mans Series champion and World Endurance champion, is back into the lead of the race. Now, that's assuming he doesn't pick up a penalty for the Frédéric Lacour contact, because remember, that's under investigation after the race. But for now, the Renault RS01 hits the front once again with 2.5 minutes left on the clock now. We should be starting the penultimate lap of the race next time round. We'll see how much gap he's been able to pull in such a short space of time. So let's see, when does Collard get over the line? Last lap was 1:54. Yeah, but this will be the penultimate lap of the race then. And so his gap is 4.3 seconds. And now Collard can just enjoy the free air. Listen to the pop and the bangs of those, that V6 engine, 3.8 litre twin turbo engine that was developed in collaboration between Nismo and Gibson. This is that Porsche Cup battle slightly further back. Which has closed up. Well, Eric Debard leads that class by 11 seconds. Alfredo Hernandez has just made his way past not only Cesar van der Westen, but now Jules Bourguignon as well. But, Bourguignon trying to come back into Buccini. Look at that in the old 991 Porsche Cup car. That's cracking stuff. And so he will lead Hernandez over the line in 7th position. But Hernandez is going to use all the grunt of that V10 Lamborghini to try and usurp the little Porsche, and does manage to do so into San Donato. So the two TB Autosports teammates are lying astern in the running order once again. See Bourguignon using that narrow line, trying to get underneath Hernandez there, not quite able to do so. Patrick Michelier's got a great view of this as well in that red CMR Ferrari, watching this all unfold right in front of him. Of course, the two Porsches, they are battling for 2nd and 3rd in the Porsche Cup category, although Cesar van der Westen will have to take some penalty. Well, finally, there's been some movement on the 122 car. It's been sat there for some time. They've decided they're going to give it a shot. As Emmanuel Collard has just started the final lap of the race, 9.7 seconds clear of the Chevrolet Corvette of Olivier Morahan. Oh, and that's Cesar van der Westen. It almost looked like the 992 was ahead there, but it is not. Oh, that's a little lock up there for Harrison Walker. Could hear some tyre squeal there going into Correnteo. So we just got a glimpse of Andre Sefiritos there. I believe he's our sole remaining UCS4, actually. It doesn't look like Pierre Roux actually got going, sadly, after the, or maybe as a result of the damage sustained in yesterday's contact with Charles-Henri Simani. But meanwhile, Emmanuel Collard is on his final lap of the race. Started in the lead. He had 2 good battles with Olivier Morahan. He's going to end it in the lead, but quite a bit happened in between. Who says a lot can't change in 24 hours? Try 24 minutes. Through Bondietti for the final time for Emmanuel Collard. Won't be taking part in race 4 at Charles-Henri Simani. Will be doing race 3 a little bit later on today. That is for sure. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Collard exits Buccini for the final time and blasts up towards the checkered flag for victory in race 2 of Trofeo GTS in Mugello. And it is Racetivity on top in race number 2. It'll be around 10 seconds or so wait for Olivier Morahan in the JRM Racing Chevrolet Corvette. Denied his first overall victory, but it is a second podium of the weekend for the Frenchman. And they will be joined on the overall podium eventually by our UCS3 class winner, which should be Lorenzo Montiero in the 353 SR&R car. Here's that Porsche Cup battle. Still Cesar van der Westen is trying to take second position on the road from his teammate. Of course, remember, Cesar will end up taking his success penalty post-race. That was a wide moment there. Oh, trouble on the last lap. Trouble on the last lap for Julien Bourguignon. What's happened there? Has he picked up a puncture? There was one wide moment going through Pelagio. And somehow that car's just grinding to a halt now. So from second position in the Porsche Cup category, late dramas for the 2B Autosport number 13 crew. So that has promoted Cesar van der Westen to second in his category and to 8th position overall, and put Patrick Michelier up in 9th. That should promote Lionel Rigal for the GP Racing team into the top 10. Wow, dramas on the last lap. Meanwhile, Lorenzo Montiero did come across the line to win the UCS3 category ahead of Frederic Lacour and Harrison Walker. So it's SR&R from Racing Spirit of Le Mans and SR&R. Eric Debard victorious in the Porsche Cup category for the second time this weekend in the 81 machine. 6th in the line, Alfredo Hernandez 7th, Cesar van der Westen 8th, Patrick Michelier 9th, and Lionel Rigal does join the Porsche Cup podium in 10th position overall. Wow. Late dramas in Trofeo GTS as the cars are making their way into Parc Fermé. Olivier Morahan is already parked up there. No sign of Emmanuel Collard just yet. There is Lorenzo Montiero. So we have 2 of our top 3 there. Looks like Emmanuel Collard's. I thought that was going to be just pulling in there, but that's the UCS3 cars behind. But there's Lorenzo Montiero, very happy with that one. A victory for the Italian on home soil. for Monteiro. That is a second class win of the season. In Ultimate GT Sprint Cup, he was victorious in race 1 in Hockenheim. Debriefing with the JRM racing team. There's Emmanuel Collard. Well, he's been so rapid all day. He decided to let someone else be the first one this time. That's not even Emmanuel driving it. Well, the car's pulled up, but that's not Emmanuel behind the wheel. Well, sadly, it doesn't look like we're going to hear from our race winner as a result then, but I'm sure there'll still be plenty of drivers who fancy having a chat with Claire Cottingham down in Parc Fermé. And who wouldn't? Just while we're waiting for someone to have a chat with Claire, let me just remind you that Trofeo GTS action continues at 1:25 for race 3 this afternoon, and then it's also the last race of the day for the Ultimate Cup Series in Mugello today at 5:55. Well, that was another cracking 25 minutes of GTS action. Let's take a look back at what happened in that race.
Être un bon traiteur, c'est être intransigeant sur la qualité. On ne fait du bon qu'avec le meilleur. C'est être impitoyable sur les recettes. Quand c'est bon, il n'y a rien à ajouter, rien à enlever. C'est être irréprochable sur le goût. Il faut prendre du plaisir pour en donner. Voilà, pour être un bon traiteur, il faut être intraitable.
Parfaitement intraitable.